Sheila's excited.
Yeah.
He always at the church, oh, Richard loves it too, right? Yeah.
Okay. We greet you, welcoming God with our many morning moves. Some of us could not wait to get here. Some of us just made it. Some of us know exactly why we come, and some of us are not sure.
Still, some call each of us to do, and we come to seek and to worship.
Our call to worship. Our hearts are unwavering, O God.
We will sing and make melody.
Awake, my soul, awake.
We will awake the dawn.
We will give thanks to you, O God.
For your unlimited love is grace.
Now, please join us all for opening hymn number 471 in the black hymnal, What a Choice. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray for forgiven grace. With great joy, we are made alive. Thanks be to God. And now we have some special music.
Well, I see we have some special visitors again this morning, and I know one of your favorite songs is, I forgot which one, Angels Among Us?
Is that good? Because that's the one you practice?
That's the one we practice.
Okay, now we will have Marianne do our children's conversation, followed by the Lord's Prayer.
Well, that was definitely a God thing, because my talk today is about empathy. There are angels among us, always. Hello, buddy. What's his name? Everett. This is Everett. Oh my goodness. You know what I saw in the news last night? There in Rochester, there was a mother dog who had her puppies, and they had fallen into a fox den or into something that was steep and deep, and she couldn't get her puppies out. So she was discovered, and this guy brought in a backhoe, and they did all this stuff, and they rescued all those puppies. That is an act of empathy. Does anybody know what that word means? I knew you would. I can always count on you. Yes, what is empathy, Logan?
Empathy is like when you feel bad for someone and you do a kind act because you feel bad for someone.
Right.
It's like giving him sympathy. But
Well, about doing something kind for them, right. It's about the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, that when we see things that need attention, obviously those puppies needed attention. And how do you think that mother dog was feeling, Belle?
like sad.
Frantic, probably, just racing around the top of that hole, wanting her puppies so badly. Yes, Logan? Scared too, that maybe she wasn't going to be able to save her own puppies. Well, we need a lot of empathy in our lives and in the world. And having angels among us, those are the people who see the needs. Can you tell me a time when somebody showed you empathy? No? Oh, I've had a lot of empathy in my life. People will notice that maybe I'm having a rough day, and my one teacher friend would come in and say, having a rough morning, and I'd just go like this, and she would know enough to walk away because I would cry. So she was a great friend, and she knew that, and we would talk about it later, but I couldn't start the day crying before I started teaching, right? Because my joy came through the door every day. So that was another piece of empathy. Even though the kids didn't know it, they were showing me empathy by just giving me hugs and saying good morning. What, have you had empathy shown to you?
I've shown it to someone else.
I know you have.
Matthew, my friend, he's really good at this sport, and he lost, and our team may not be doing the best right now, and he started crying.
So what did you do? This was his friend who was playing on the baseball team, and they were losing. So what did you do when he cried?
Different sport. I walked up to him and asked him if he was okay, and told him we'll win next time.
Yeah. I put my arm around him. I said, "Are you okay? We'll get him next time." Yeah. Have you ever had anybody show you kindness? Oh. I just saw your sister take your hand and come down the aisle. I did.
And no one doesn't mean it.
How about you, Sophie?
When I was hurt someday in kindergarten,
Mm-hmm.
one of my friends named Layla,
Mm-hmm.
I fell on my back and she helped me.
She helped you get up? Yeah. And they have something at the Honeywell Playground, as well as in other playgrounds, called the Buddy Bench. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, we call it the buddy bench. We did it in kindergarten whenever someone sat there when someone's bored, they don't have anyone to play with, and they would sit, and then I know Mrs. Ward would yell, someone's on the buddy bench, and then since it was like kindergarten thing at like 10, 5, 10,
Right.
6, 7.
So somebody would go over and sit with them.
Yeah, a bunch of people would come over and sit with
Yep.
them, and they would ask
Yeah,
them.
so there might be a child sitting on the buddy bench who's feeling very lonely. Nobody's going to play with them. And the teachers will shout out, "Somebody's on the buddy bench." And it's amazing. Kids will go over and start talking and just try to get them, include them. So there's lots of ways we can show empathy. Sometimes it's just a smile. Sometimes it's a hug. Sometimes it's putting your arm around them and just saying, "It'll be okay." Yeah, it will be. And Everett, you're going to have a lot of buddies in your life. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. So empathy is something that everybody needs. We need it. We need to give it to other people. And we'll talk more in Sunday school, but there are lots and lots of ways for us to show empathy. And this church is one of them. This is where I come to my church family. And they take care of me. They take care of you. We take care of each other. So, and we give food baskets out at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Oh, I know. We do the angel tree for children that, need gifts. And we do food. We do our food pantry. We do our drive-through dinners. We could make a list of all the signs of empathy that we've shown. So sometimes we just need to be reminded that when we're not feeling so down, when we're feeling down and somebody won't sit with us at lunch, that it's okay. But, somebody needs to notice and take care of that. One more thing, Logan?
It's like from Popcorn, no pop is too big, no pop is too small. No.
What?
It's like from Popcorn, no pop is too big, no pop is too small. It doesn't matter how small your empathy is or how big it is.
No, it doesn't matter how small or big your empathy is. You're right, as long as you show it. Okay? All right, can we bow our heads and do the Lord's Prayer? You're going to get this. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
All right. Upstairs.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is a special
best time for our church family. Through the last week, Ellie has received prayer requests from the congregation and people close to us. And I'd like to share those with us right this moment. Prayers for Diane B. at the passing of her best friend, Aunt Sarah, and her family. Mike asked prayers for his son who is battling depression. Sue asked prayers for her sister Lynn, who has blood clots, and for Don, who has kidney issues. Bill asked prayers for Ann W., who fell and broke her hip on Wednesday. She was operated on Friday. Michelle is asking prayers for her father-in-law, who had extensive cancer surgery, which involved removal of his left jaw and lymph nodes. LaRue asked prayer for Miss Helen, who was 88. Her son passed away, and he was the one planning for her passing. Prayers for Rena, who is recovering from surgery. Prayer to keep Stephanie strong. Lord, hear our prayer.
Lord, hear our prayer.
And also at this point, would there be anyone in the congregation here today that needs prayers? Rena?
My brother Steve's in the hospital, went in yesterday with severe pain, they've done an MRI and the ultrasounds and stuff. So far, everything looks good, but they need to keep it. So prayers for my brother Steve and my friend Tony has a hernia that's perforated something or other, I don't know. So prayers for him.
Lord,
Hear our prayer.
anyone else?
Sandy, we just started chemo on Friday. Very nervous about the whole thing, so I'm hoping it's going well. My neighbor who has stage 4 cancer and melanoma is going to have surgery for that. And my friend up north who got hit by a truck, she seems to be doing okay. So, but we'll have cover.
Lord,
Lord, hear our prayer.
anyone else?
For the family of Curtis Rogers, we just buried his ashes this morning, and we keep the family in our prayers.
Lord,
Hear our prayer.
anyone else? One thing I'd like to finish up with was continued prayers for Dennis M., who has Parkinson's disease and suffering a mild stroke. For Elaine B., who has eye issues. Linda G., Dad's Bill, who's home recovering from a hospital stay. For Amanda, Pat, and Mike, as they struggle with grief, losses, and mental health issues. Shara B., Lise, and Tony, Susan, and Joan.
Lord, hear our prayer.
Continued prayers for Elaine D., who continues to have breathing problems. Prayers for Lynn's husband, Jerry, Don and Spencer's son, Don, Cher's friend, Lisa, Jean and Mary, Lynn's friend, Bob, Dawn, Sandy, Carol, Mike, Paula, Stephanie, Jane, and Frank are co-battling cancer. Lord,
Lord, hear our prayer.
we remember our soldiers here at home and around the world, the people of the Ukraine, all the refugees of the world, for all those who are in nursing homes and assisted living, and for all of those who have lost loved ones. Lord, hear our prayer. Tender and compassionate God, enter the lives of those lifted up to you this day. Heal them with the power of your loving Spirit, that we may face your healing with courage. Be with those who weep, tend the ill, rest the weary, walk with the lonely, soothe the dying. Lord,
Hear our prayer.
It's my honor and privilege this morning to be able to read you a passage from Scripture and then talk about it. So today's passage is from John, chapter 11, and it deals with the death of Lazarus. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one which poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." When he heard this, Jesus said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. That when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. Then he sent his disciples, "Let's go back to Judea." "But Rabbi," they said, "a short while ago the Jews tried to stone you, and yet you are going back there?" Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? A man who walks by day will not stumble, for he sees by his world's light. It is when he walks by night that he stumbles. He has no light." After he said this, he went to tell them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm not going there to wake him up." His disciples replied, "Lord, if he sleeps, will he get better?" Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So he told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe, but let us go to him." Then Thomas said to the rest of the disciples, "Let us go, that he may die with him." On his arrival, Jesus found Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in their loss. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. "Lord," Martha said, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask for." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live through even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in will never die again." "Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who was to come into the world." And after she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met her. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out to the tomb. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied, and Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, "Could not he have opened the eyes of the blind man, has kept this man from dying?" Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," Martha said, "by this time there is a bad odor. There has been 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe in you." So ends the reading of John. God, I pray that the words that I am about to speak come from you and can help people understand better your glory in our lives. It might be helpful if we kind of understand a little bit about what's going on at this point in time around Jerusalem and who the people might be here. We're in a time frame that within the next week or two, we're going to have the arrest and crucifixion of Jesus. So this is a prelude to that. The people mentioned here, Martha, Mary, Lazarus, and our friend Thomas, have been with Jesus for his whole entire ministry. And we've heard of Martha and Mary earlier on. They helped prepare and did the back scenes work for Jesus in his ministry. Thomas obviously is one of the disciples, so he's had a close relationship with Jesus. Minimum of, we believe that the talk is about 3 years or more. So there's a strong relationship with this group of people. On the outside of that, you have people who are good friends with Martha and Mary. And they have arrived, because Mary Ann was talking about empathy. They came to comfort the two sisters in a very traumatic time in their lives. So there's another relationship. And so the relationships here in this story revolve around death. We all in the congregation here have at some point in time experienced the death of somebody close to us. Some are younger, some are older, some are parents. It doesn't matter their relationship, because all those relationships are very special. So we can relate to the death here. And what I'd like to explore a little and have you think about a little is a little bit different. This came to me as I was preparing for this. And these are the words that were kind of given to me, any ideas. Each person that Martha, Mary, Thomas, they kind of have a little different relationship with Jesus. And something in their relationship ultimately died. So Thomas, and we know Thomas from being doubting Thomas in a couple of weeks when he comes after Jesus' death. We know that story. So he obviously loved Jesus greatly. But as I read this piece about Thomas, he really, the relationship that's there maybe is a relationship of confidence. So he has great confidence in Jesus and his ministry and his life. And how we presented his discussion in this chapter is a death of confidence. And that's interesting to think about. Where in our lives that we had a relationship with someone or something, mostly someone, and we lost confidence in them. And it changed the relationship tremendously. And we all can relate to those circumstances. The first one that meets Jesus on the way to their house is Martha. And as I read this story and listen to what she says, her relationship seems to be one of hope. She has great hope in Jesus and great ability to know that when the resurrection comes, there'll be something different. And yet I also sense in the way she presented it is that her hope died in that moment because she's grieving and she doesn't know what to say really. And so she's speaking from her heart, and it becomes obvious that maybe her hope has died in Jesus. But she said, if you were here, he wouldn't have died, which is pretty spot on. And Mary, when she arrives and talks to Jesus, it seems as though what died for her was her trust in Jesus. She didn't give him any alternatives other than, he died and you weren't here. That's a bad thing. Well, it's like, when have we had those kind of situations with friends and acquaintances that we know? We've let that trust die in that relationship. And one of the last things that came to me that I want to add to this group is there's a relationship of emotions. In our closest people in our lives, we have such an emotional connection with them. And for whatever reason, it could be the death of a spouse, it could be the death of a relationship that was so close to you, brother, good lifelong college friends. And the list is endless of those real close emotional connections we have with people. And even our church, we have a tremendously emotional connection to the building here, but more importantly, all the people inside this building and all the interactions that we have. It's an emotional connection. That's why we come every week. That's why we enjoy being around everybody here. And at some points, those things, they too can die. So it seems now like this is a pretty negative kind of sermon going on here. But the beauty comes in the rest of the story. So Jesus arrives, and the more I read Jesus' ministry and understand it better, every time that there's been a recollection of his ministry, there's a message. And it's usually pretty straightforward. But yet, in every time that those messages, there is like an understory. That when we start to open our eyes and start to increase our relationship with Jesus, we see that same story in a different way. And almost every time, it's in a very positive way. Each story has that. And the more you read it and the more you pray about it, it comes to light for you. So what I would really like for you to think about is that in all these relationships I've just mentioned, our belief in Jesus brings every one of those relationships back to life. And it can occur at any point in time. And so we have loved ones that are physically dead, but if you allow emotional death to kick in along with that, that seems like a real loss in our lives. But who can bring that emotional life back to life? Is our belief in Jesus and our understanding of how much he loves us. In a relationship of trust, the same thing happens. When we lose trust in someone or something, that dies. And if we stay with that negative, that doesn't seem to me like that's what Jesus was all about. Jesus is about rebirth of that trust, that confidence, that hope. And to me, that's what the underlying message is in this story about the death of Lazarus. Is Jesus is reaffirming for us that through him and our relationship we have with him in all its different phases, brings us and him back to life. And I think that's a very, very important thing to have in our personal lives. So let us pray once again. Dear God, I would ask you to speak to the hearts of everybody that hears this message and help them understand the beauty of the message, both in our lives, in our relationships with everyone around us. Amen. Oh boy, this is a time for us to share. And this is a sharing in a monetary sense. So I ask the greeters to come forward. can be used for your work in special ways. Amen.
Joy, 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 down in my heart. Where? Down in. My joy is that we had a wonderful time Friday. I want to thank Donna for all the work she put in to make that family fun night fun. I think we had like 18 people there. It was a good time, even with a crummy rain. So that's my joy.
Okay, my joy is first to you, Richard. Thank you for your sermon. It's always a joy to have you speak and be with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And my other joy was for Donna. And the good time we had Friday night. We were only here an hour because I had to take the kids back to Warsaw. But I know the kids had a good time, and next time we'll hope for better weather. So, whoops. I'll try again.
Speak us down.
Thank you for all those good words, because we did have a great time and we had lots of laughs, and some people that were unhappy with the way the games were still ended up smiling. So that was nice. But I have so many joys to tell you about today, and that's one of them. But the second one is one of my grandsons who's been going to welding school, now has a job, and granted, he's not making much money because he's only an intern or whatever they call it. But thank you, apprentice, but he has a job and he loves it. So we're very thrilled. My other grandson has applied to 4 colleges for next year, so we'll keep our fingers crossed from them. I remember Ithaca, U of R, and RIT, and now I forgot who the 4th one was. So we're very happy and excited for him. Spence is doing much better, for those of you who have been praying for Spence with the loss of his brother and everything. But now that things are over, you know, you get going and things are a whole lot better. And my biggest joy, and I'm going to cry, is because Don, our son who has the cancer, called Friday night and he had a doctor's appointment. His doctor is very, very pleased with how he's doing. His cancer will never be gone, but at least the spots that are in the soft tissue or whatever, they are getting smaller. And the ones on his bones are not growing. So we're very, very pleased about that. And they're going to give him a blood transfusion this week so he can get some of his energy back, which will be very good for him. He's getting a little down about not doing anything. And I know, and so does he, that he has so many prayers coming from this church for him. And he's as pleased as I am, and thanks you as I do from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
What's his blood type now?
You know what?
What's
I
his
have
blood
no
type?
idea.
I'll
I'll find out.
And there's probably that type in here. If it's me, I'll donate some blood.
Thank you so much. You're all wonderful.
This is 3 special dollars for Zachary and Brenna's Jaden that turns 3 today, November 13th. And I look over to the little guy over there, and oh boy, does he remind me of Jaden when he was about a year old. And I know that Everett has just turned a year old, right? Well, I called your neighbor, Barb Wood, and I said, guess who was at our church Sunday? And she said, yes, they're my neighbors. She said, I don't see a lot of them. They're very busy. And I said, yes, young couples are. But welcome again. We're glad to have you here. And this is for game night too. Ellie and Donna and I had a very friendly game of rummy. And we didn't keep score because we wanted to stay good friends. And so it was great. Our table was great. Now, Pastor Sue's table, I said, do I need to come over there and referee? Pastor Sue, her son Ted, and Morgan, and Allie, and yeah, they were going at it a little bit.
That was all right.
We're glad that you didn't leave sorry, though. We left happy because Morgan had lots of treats.
Well, mine has something to do with Mary Lynn, with her empathy talk. We've been praying a lot for Trevor and Renee, and several weeks ago, Renee had her 6th surgery. And I guess these surgeries are, I don't fully understand it, and I haven't asked to look at her legs yet, so I don't know what it looks like. But I think they have to dig down in, and they're deep wounds. And before they can do it, before they can cover the opening in the skin, the skin has to grow up. You know, there has to be enough coming up. But her wounds have to be cleaned out all the time. And there's calcium in there, and they've got sharp edges. I think that's what's there, very, very painful. Her insurance ran out in terms of number of visits that a nurse could come, rather than the 2 of them clean it out. I guess it's very smelly too. And so there's one nurse, befriended Renee at the hospital, and she is coming over for free. After she does her 12-hour shifts, so I'm assuming it's 4 days a week, she's coming and cleaning those wounds out. And she wouldn't take any money, and they were trying to think, what could we give her? And she was moving, and she just happened to mention she didn't have a TV, so Trevor went and bought her a TV. So they were able to do something. But can you imagine 12 hours and then coming for free? But she really likes her, and I think it's a blessing in more ways than one. So, empathy. There you go. Thank you.
I have enjoyed, here's my pretend money. Friday Veterans Day. I got to spend with my son and my 2 grandchildren. We went to Applebee's for lunch, and they had a free meal for all the veterans, which was wonderful, and it was very crowded. Okay, so after that, my 3-year-old grandson and my granddaughter went to see a movie, and it was Colin's first movie theater experience. And we saw Lyle Crocodile. And he did really good. It was really fun. So, yeah, it was a great day.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I found Char's imaginary money, so I'll cover her. Great joy for the night on Friday. It was my celebration of my granddaughter Caitlin's birthday, and the following day, so she had a great time with my lovely wife. They had a wonderful time there, and they enjoyed the games. And also for bringing all our grandchildren together for us, and we got to sleep over with 2 of them. They had over, so we had plenty of joy. And then the following day, we had a beautiful party at my son's house with all the grandkids. So plenty of joy. Thank you.
My joy is Haley got her insulin pump and no more shots. So.
I could finally sleep.
I echo the happy birthday Jaden today and the party yesterday. And it was wonderful because all of the grandbabies were there, and he just loves his cousins whenever he comes over. Where's Logan? Where's Sophia? So it was great.
Go Bills.
Okay, announcements. Just quickly going back over night. It was great, and I hope to be there the next one. Let's see. Thank you to me for the liturgist.
Good job, thank you.
Greeting farewell, Mary Lynn Parmalee and Eddie Clark. Fellowship will be Mary Lynn Parmalee, and Norma will be with us another coming. Let's see, birthdays. Mary Jane Stoltz, Eddie Clark on the 18th, and Charlie Bassett. No matter who you are or where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. We are United Church of Bristol. I forgot to ask if there were other announcements. Ellie, are there any other announcements?
I have another announcement. Mary Lynn is this one, even though we didn't want to. Our children and adult Christmas craft make date is December 11th. If you wish to share a creative craft with our church family, please sign up in the fellowship hall. I saw the sheet of kids out there. Right after church, we're going to have it. I can talk. We're going to have it right after service at 11:30 on the 11th. I hope everybody will come and join.
Thank you, Ellie.
I have one announcement. I'm going to volunteer, I'll be right down here in front. If anybody has any questions or thoughts about what the sermon was about, I'm glad to share those answers as best I can with you.
I just need help, technology. We've been developing a logo for the community center in the Hill. It's all done, and she sent me one for stationery and thank you notes we wanted. She sent me another one for the website, and I think it's a PDF file. I don't know how to access it. So anybody here that knows how to access, there's 4 sites. If you can call me up and try to guide me through if you want to come to my home, that would be wonderful, because without that, we're at standstill until I figure out how to do that. And the other thing is, I need help. Another technological thing is I want to sell a few things, and I want to put it on Marketplace or whatever it is you put it on. I don't know how to do that either. If there's anybody here that's a little younger than me, could help me, I really appreciate it. Just let me know. Okay? Thank you.
And there's Fran.
I have a pastoral search committee report. As I mentioned last week, I will keep you updated on what we're doing. We met last week, and we went over the profile to shorten it so that it would fit into websites that we plan on posting on. We discussed different types of websites and how they worked. Some are free and will post for 60 days, and some cost money. We also discussed the job description, because that has to be shortened to go on these websites. And that's an ongoing process. We're using the original profile and picking things from that to add. We ranked the congressional listings that we went over. And I say rank, but really we just put them down in an order. It's a flowing order. We don't necessarily have to follow it all the way through. But obviously our first priority is to find someone 3/4 of the time. The next is to use the free websites first that we can. Beth has some contacts she's looking into, and if there is anybody else at any time who knows of someone or who thinks someone might be interested or heard that that's a good person, contact us so that we can contact them and see if they're interested in coming to our church and what they're exactly like. Advertising, newspapers, radio. Another one is sharing the ministers. Then we'll be going after we get through most of those. Maybe we'll be doing a paid website, but we didn't want to do that first. And a letter campaign. Large church possibilities, sharing a minister if we can't find someone for 3/4 of the time, which is what we're willing to do. and minister one time a month, with the other weeks filled in by volunteers. And then down towards the bottom of our list is virtual ministries and maybe not staying with UCC and going some other way. Throughout our process, we are relying on members and Pastor Sue to continue to bring forth any ideas and to follow up any leads that they hear of, or to bring them to us so that we can. This is an all congregational, we need to be together on this and find someone. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact any one of us through either email or phone calls. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Now, Bob will play our closing hymn that we can all sing. See your insert. Keep on the sunny side.
On the sunny side.
Dear God, I pray that we've been rejuvenated today and we can carry forth from today's message and today's service new life in our coming week. May it guide you and give you peace.